Okay, bismillah. So, assalamu alaikum. Today in this tutorial we are gonna look at what we just did before we start deep diving in our new content. So in this module we did import the WebDriver from the Selenium module. We did import the time. We did create a GoogleBot object with the keyword class. Using the keyword class, we gave it, or we defined some methods inside that object. Some of those are get terms, search for term, and close session. So down deep at the bottom here in the file, we did create an if condition to see if we are actually running the module directly. So if standard name equals standard main, run Google instance, run a Google instance which runs what's in the constructor, which is an instance of Firefox, an instance of a WebDriver of Firefox, defining a URL with this variable, giving the WebDriver that URL with the .get method that's included in it, sleeping for 2 seconds, and then defining a self.terms variable. So let's just start by, or let's just continue what this file does. So after that, it just get the terms from the file. We did see this before. So with open terms.google.txt, this is a context manager that opens that file as this variable. So for line in that file, line equals line dot replace a new line by an empty string. So we had this problem of a new line in each line, which is creating the problem of having a non-needed space. So self.terms append line, we are just appending that line to our variable here, or to our list here. So the other function that searches for term just searches for the box by finding it by its element name. It clears that, it sends the keys of the term. It searches for the button, or for the submit button by the XPath also. It does click that, waits for 10 seconds, and redirect us to the default self.url, which is google.com. So after that, we just close the session with this method. So let's just see this in action and start discussing what we can do, or what else we can benefit from with improving this script, or this module, or this automating tool that we did. So what we can do else here is to give it some function, or to define another function, that grabs the first URL of each Google search. So if we did have how to write a file Python, and we gave it the send keys, we would just want to grab this URL, or this URL, for example. So we always want to take this first URL, because it's most likely the one which is that we are looking for, and saving that in another file. So we will need two methods right now: the method to write the results to a file, and another method to grab those results first from the search engine. So let's go and edit our script. So let's create those first. So before the search for term, I'm just gonna create the first thing, which is I am gonna grab first, or let's just grab URL in this case. Okay, call it self, give it the self instance, and define the other function, which is to write the results to a file. Okay, I'm gonna pass this. So writing is just as simple as actually getting things from the file, so this will be easy. So with open, I'm gonna just use the context manager with open terms google.txt. Okay, we are actually creating this file with the method w in this case. So go ahead and Google that. So as file, and for term in self dot, so we will need a list that holds these values again. So let's just go back here and create a self googled terms. Okay, so each time we had a result of a Google term, we're gonna add it to this list, and in this write method we are just gonna take each term from that list and write it to that or to this file. So let's do self Google terms file.write term plus a new line. We are gonna need a new line in this case. Okay, so we are done actually from this function for now, and the thing that we have to focus on is the grab URL. So let's do that. Let's do this and go back to google.com. Open a new Firefox instance and google.com, for example. I'm gonna search for a term, so Selenium Python. I want this URL. Okay, let's go back. So I'm gonna see how can we extract this URL from the search, from the searches that are on here, for example. So how can we grab this unique URL from this page, or what makes it unique for us, or what makes it unique in the page in order for us to grab it and to store it in our file. So let's look for this in here by selecting the element. Okay, so I see here that we are in an h3, but it doesn't actually have an a tag. So what I'm looking for here is an a tag. So let's just rerun the page, go back and inspect this element. I'm looking for an a tag. Okay, so this tag is probably the one, but how can I grab this? So the whole search thing is in here, in this div class, or in this div tag name. So I'm gonna look first for this and call it a result. Okay, so let's look for this. What I can do is go to my vim.googlebot, go for this grab URL and create a results variable. It's self.driver find elements by class name. Okay, so this is the class name that I'm looking for here. So let's just go to another Google search and go to, what is Python, for example, Python inspect element this and see what the changes are in this too. So Okay, let's go into this div. This can take a lot of time, so okay, so this could be the URL. Okay, so I did find something. There is a class that has the G keyword in here, which seems unique for me. Okay, this is the one. So this ID RSO has this divs in here. Okay, and this div has classes on it. Okay, so I kind of see. Okay, so let's go back to the code. Let's grab this div because it's the one that contains the other div tags, and its ID is RSO. Let's cut that from there. Okay, we are looking for an ID here, right? Yes. So let's go to selenium.com. Selenium, find element, finding. Let's just do Selenium Python. It's easy that way. So go to finding elements. Where is it? So locating elements in the page. Okay, find element by ID is the one that I'm gonna use. So find element by class name. No, I want to find this by ID. So that ID is RSO, I think. But just okay, it is. So this is actually an object that's gonna contain a lot of. It's gonna actually came as a list, I think. So let's do print results .txt or .text, for example, and let's go back and run this search for term. Okay, I'm not gonna use it here, but I'm gonna insert it somewhere in the search for term. So exactly here after the click. Okay, do self. What was the method's name again? So grab URL, use the parentheses to call the function, because we are not actually using it as a out of the object. That's why I'm using the self, because it's referring to this exact method that we are using in the object itself. So let's do grab URL. Before that, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do time sleep for 5 seconds just to make sure that my elements have been loaded. So let's do 5 seconds here. After that, we are gonna go back to our main URL. So it's just gonna print the result.txt or the result.text for every element. So let's do just some printing here to make sure we have some new lines every time we have a new result. Okay, so let's go back. Let's do GoogleBot and let's see what happens. So just wait for it. I think it's gonna give us an error because I'm not actually sure about that ID name there. So let's do this. Okay, it's waiting. Oh, it did print that. So it did came back as a .t text file. It gave us an okay, this is another results. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, let's just see this in action and go back, coming back to the script later. I think it gave us an error. No, it didn't. What is the difference between immutable and immutable in Python? Okay, it will go back after 5 seconds to the Google and close this session. Okay, that's perfect. So let's go back here. So result web, welcome to python.org, python.org. Okay, so it's giving us every div object in this ID thing. So let's refresh the page to see the ID. So this RSO contains this div tags, and for each and every tag in here, okay, every tag in here has a G class. So let's look for that. So let's do Google term. Let's go back for a second here. So let's remove the geo log. Okay, and let's edit the GoogleBot again. So what I need to do is to find that element. So if you want to find an element by class name, you just have to find or to use this method. So find element by class name. So I'm gonna leave this print here, but this one I'm gonna delete it. So results.txt, I'm gonna do an iteration loop again. So or just to div tags, for example, create this variable and call it and use the results dot find element by class name G, because that's what it's called. Go back and find elements, not an element, because that will return a single one, but I actually want a list of them. So go back here and print this div tags one by one, or actually this will return a lot of results. So let's just return the first one of them, or the second one, or the let's return the third one, but I want it in text again. So every term in here is gonna apply this to. So it's gonna find the element ID or the results element ID, that div that's ID is RSO. After that, it's gonna look in that RSO for this G class name. After that, it's gonna take that the third element in the div tags that we have already find elements by class name. So and it's gonna print it to the screen. After that, it's gonna give it this little nice printing scene. So let's just see this in action. Close, go back, Python googlebot.py and see what it will do. So I guess here what it will do is to return a okay, so it didn't actually give us anything in the first one. Okay, there's no results. So what is going on? So what did I do wrong? So okay, this is something. I don't know what's going on in here, but this doesn't sound good. So it will close now, right? Yeah, it did. Okay, this is for the first one, this is for the second one, this is for the third one, and this is for the last one. But the third one is the only one that gives us some input, so I don't actually know exactly what's going on. But okay, so let's figure this out. Where did we make a mistake in our program? So what we basically have done in here is we looked for this result contains an element of RSO, so this has a lot of div tags, and I did so. Okay, so this is the main, so let's just call it, let's change the results name to main div. Okay, after this, okay, so let's change it right here, so main div. Okay, and let's call this T div tags. Okay, because it returns a list of elements, and this J div tags is going to the third element and printing its text. So let's just iterate, or let's just print that the whole div tag without specifying an element from that. So let's see actually what's the input of this, or what's the outcome. Python GoogleBot. Okay, like you see in the background, it's doing its job. We are 22 minutes in now. Okay, list object has no attribute .txt or .text. So that's what I was expecting, by the way. So the problem can be solved by iterating through this, but I don't actually know why grabbing the third element didn't work with most of them. But okay, let's grab the first element of those. So let's grab the first element. So this is a list, I can grab an element from that list, so I did the first element. So let's go and give it the first element. Okay, the first element, because counting in programming or in coding in general starts by 0, or from 0 actually. So, and get the txt or the text from that div tag. So this is as simple as it sounds. Go back, this shouldn't return any errors for now, and let's do this again. Okay, let's wait for it. Go back, see that in the background what the input is. So search for the first term. Go ahead please and do that for us. Okay, so this is the first result for the first one. It's gonna redirect it to the google.com again, look for another one, grab the next term or the first term from this page. Okay, that's it. Python file writing. Okay, go to Google again, search for another term, grab the first result after 5 seconds. Okay, did succeed in the next one. So it's exactly like here, automate Google searches. The The last one, mutable views immutable versus immutable objects in Python. So exactly, so this is what we want. After this, so you're gonna look for Google and just exit our Google session. So this is actually exactly what we wanted to display. After this, I don't actually want all of this information right here, but this can be used to store this information, or I can use this information to store it basically in a CSV file. For example, a comma separated value file, I think is that what it stands for. I don't actually remember, but you can use this content for a .csv, but I just want the URLs. So how can I grab the URLs from this output? I don't actually want to grab it from this output right here, but from the session itself. So this G contains an A tag. So let's look for that A tag, which is this one, which has an href attribute that has the URL that I want to go to. So let's refresh this and it will actually be more visible. So let's look for this, find inspect element. Okay, the A tag has the URL. Okay, so okay, let's inspect select element. Okay, this is the A tag. So let's grab the A tag from the G element. So to do that, I need to find that element by tag name, a tag name. So let's go and see how to do that. It's exactly like it sounds. So let's go edit the file again, go to grab URL. I don't want to print this anymore. Let me just comment this, take this here and find that A tag by find. Okay, so let's use self.driver.find element by tag name, I think. Okay, that's find element by tag name. Okay, that's the thing, an A tag, and that's it actually. Okay, so I did made a mistake. I don't want to self drive again because just like I didn't do nothing, but find this in the gdiff tags. Okay, or tag rather. So let's do, okay, let's uncomment this, remove the print, and let's create a first tag here, give it the tag div tag, a first element, remove the text, and let's do this from that first tag. Okay, let's do first tag and look for find element by tag name and A tag. Look for a tag and A tag and this first tag. So this is gonna be easy. When you find that element or that A tag, just print it to the screen. Okay, and actually I want to know the type because I don't know the actual type of this. And see, please give me the type of A tag. I want to know the type. Okay, let's go back, googlebot.py, let it do its job. We are now 30 minutes in the video. Okay, we are learning how to solve problems together, so let's do this. Go back to this. Okay, I did print this is the element, the a tag element, and this is the type. So it says that it's a Selenium web.WebDriver.Firefox.WebElement.Firefox web element. So this is its type. It's an object like everything else in Python. But it's a Selenium WebDriver Firefox web element Firefox element web element object. So let's finish this. I'm gonna try to grab the text from this one. But let's look actually how can I get an attribute from. Okay, I don't see that in here, but okay, let's do getting an attribute from Selenium Python. Okay, so get attribute element method. So actually this is the method that don't actually have to go inside just to learn more about it, but since I am sure that is that, so let's do. Okay, let's just see how can I use this method. Element get attribute. Okay, so a tag, let's create a new variable, a link variable, call it a. Okay, we did call it a link variable, and grab the a tag get attribute from that with the name. What was the name? Okay, the name of the link is actually href. Okay, and after this just print the link. Okay, delete this one and delete the type. I don't need it anymore. Okay, this is my function GoogleBot clear, and rerun the script again. We are gonna do this 100,000 times again just to see the actual results. So go back here to the terminal, let that work in the background. Okay, this is the first link or the first element of that first result. Okay, this is good. Okay, this is good. Just looking for another one. Okay, this is a long URL. Okay, wow, how is this possible? This URL should be like this. Open this link. This is an image URL, so let's just not use the first one. Let's edit the googlebot.py and let's use the second one, or let's tell it to grab the second element. This should work better. Okay, Okay, it did grab this URL for the first result. So how to write Python? So I need actually to add it to add here a new line of just to tell us what it's looking for. So it's actually gonna just be an F string or a formatted string to tell us that we are looking for this term, for example, or we are googling this term. So each time it does that, it will just tell us what it's looking for before it does look for that, and then it will do and look, it will go and look for that. So it will go back to the same. Okay, so it did exit. Okay, so let's, so it did work. If we actually open this link, it will work. Say medium URL. If we test this one, say Korea URL, the first or the second one. So this actually are known websites, so we don't actually need to test all of those. So let's go back to where we did import the grab URL and print that statement. So for term in self dot terms, print googling term, and don't forget the F string and 3 dots here. Okay, let's give it the plus sign just to look more professionally, or to look more professional, do it more professionally. Actually, that's how we should say it. So and here it will be nice to have another print function that says closing session, and this will be a minus. Okay, just to look creative. Okay, after this one, what we actually want is to add each of those links or those URLs that we actually print into the screen. We want to print it to the screen as a output, but we want to add it to the Google terms first. So let's do that. So to self dot Google terms append link. Okay, this should add it to this Google terms after each iteration in this one. Okay, so and let's activate the right result, because it will actually find the Google terms have something to do with. So search terms. After searching for those terms, the self.google terms will be empty or will be full with the whole results. So let's do Google instance and run the function or the method that writes results. So let's do write result. Okay, this is good. So let's see what it does. Okay, let's look at the directory that we are in, delete the log. So we have the GoogleBot.py script that we are editing, the readme.md for our GitHub account or our GitHub repository, and terms.google or terms.google.txt. So those are the terms that we actually googling or we actually searching for in this script. So in the end of our script is gonna create a new file and call it Google Terms, which will actually contain all of those URLs. So let's do Python GoogleBot, let it do its job for the final or the last but not least time. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Googling what is Python, Googling how to write a file, Python, okay. This is good. This is our print function, this is what it does. And because you use 3 dots to wait for it, so this is the third one, and this is the last URL. Okay, so we did the job. It will close session and close the script. Okay, this is our results, but if we did list the directory's content, it's gonna contain this file that I delete every time and the terms. So let's see what's in that terms google.txt. so it's each and every URL in here is been added to this file. And we can actually create another file or another script that goes and reads from this googled terms or terms googled or those googled results and go navigate to each link of those and give us and scrape data from each and every link if we do want that. So this is the end of our course. So I hope you did enjoy it, and I hope you did learn something new, and remember that there is always something new to learn. So take care.